Aroostook County and Maine State, and welcome to the Aroostook Watchmen program for Wednesday, August 24, 2011, coming to you live over the Constitutional Radio Network, which consists currently, though it's growing every day, of 780 AM in Monticello, 1700 AM in Lewiston, 96.5 FM in Brewer, 88.1 FM in Westbrook, and something in Woodland. Jack McCarthy, and now coming to us from points unknown, the masked marauder of international finance, the conscience of the global financial community, Mr. Bob Chapman of the International Forecaster. Good morning, Bob.
Well, good morning again, and it's nice to be in the county.
Well, we feel like you're with us this morning. We can hear you loud and clear. You're coming in well. You must be sitting by a window.
Yes, and there's not too much foliage, and the monkeys are mostly on the ground right now.
Oh, you just gave it away. We know you're we know you're in a warmer zone.
Yes,
okay,
yes.
Well,
it's warm in the county today. It's a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous day. I'm sitting at the airport in front of countywide vacuum and looking out across all the hills. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Got your
nobody ever said Maine was ugly.
No, that's for sure. Of all the problems we do have, that is one we certainly don't have. We have a gorgeous state.
Unless you're looking at senators.
Well, that's true.
we try not to look at them too often. But anyway, Bob, I just got your newest edition of the International Forecaster this morning, so I haven't had a chance to read through all of it. But I started off looking at some of your information with regard to the Social Security Trust Fund and what is really going on there. You want to just lead off with a little bit of a pontification about that?
Well, after the legislation was passed under the aegis of FDR, they started collecting taxes, is what it is, in June of 1935, and that money went into the general fund, and it was immediately taken and used for something else.
Immediately went into the general fund? I mean, right from the beginning?
I think so.
So there was never a true Social Security Trust Fund of its own off to the side?
Well, the trust fund existed. What they did was they issued bonds payable by the United States government to the trust fund. And they've been accumulating over the years. They held in, I think it's 3 different locations. And they don't mean anything because the only persons or entity that can redeem them is the United States government. It also says in the Social Security Legislation Act that if the government doesn't have money to pay the Social Security, then they must issue bonds and get the money to do so. Anyway,
so in other words, they're required to keep the fund solvent?
Yes.
Okay.
One way or the other. That is not true with Medicare, that I know of. The evolution of years, and I started out, 1948, 49, I started paying into the system. And so I was one of the earlier people who paid into it who's still alive, because most people don't live after 76 years old. But anyway, what they're up to here is this. The reason why the Standard & Poor's, and not the other 2 agencies, downgraded the debt of the United States government was, in their statement, they said it was because of the debt and the inability to cut enough money from Social Security and Medicare that they had been talking about. And if the United States government, the U.S. Congress, did not cut the amount that S&P dictated, then they were going to downgrade the U.S. government debt in November.
Did they actually dictate a figure?
No, not a figure, but the fact that they were going to do this. Now, this is a private agency which is indirectly controlled by Wall Street and banking. That's how they survive. I know a lot about it. I've known past presidents of S&P quite well. And so I know how it works.
Okay, now are they tied at the hip to the international bankster community, or are they somewhat separate?
No, they're part of that community.
All right.
And they're doing what they're doing in order to force the dismemberment of Social Security and Medicare. irrespective, it is not.
S&P's move was not a fiscally conservative move or a move to try to wake up politicians. It was more of an effort to continue Obama's plan to radically transform America and do away with Social Security?
Yes. The only thing is Obama just does what he's told.
Oh, yeah, we all know.
Behind the scenes, we've got the Council on Foreign Relations and the Peterson Foundation, who have been ramrodding this thing for several years.
Pete Peterson, who was the former chairman
who's Peterson?
Pete Peterson, the former chairman of the Trilateral Commission, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And so they're behind this.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they want to do is strip everybody of their of the monies that they're supposed to receive that they paid into. And it's a considerable amount of years. I once figured out that I would have to live to be 105 years old without interest to get my money back.
Really?
That I had put into the system.
Huh. But
and
on the flip side of that, Bob, you have people who haven't worked a day in their life who get SDI, which comes out of Social Security funds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would hope, at least you would think, that maybe some of that would balance out.
SDI, I think, is separate.
Okay. But my point is, it's a redistribution of wealth mechanism, isn't it? When you really think about it.
The
a guy like you gets nowhere near what he puts in, and somebody else doesn't put anything in and gets a lot.
Well, we see that through disability payments today. It's awful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody dies and you get a wife and a child, and they both get $1,600 a month. You got to be kidding me.
Yeah, really.
They've never even paid into the system.
Right.
But the people who were involved in the system up until 10 years ago, so we'll say the year 2000, from 1935 to 2000, those who collected Social Security collected far more benefits than they ever put in, and some contributed none. And it was a Ponzi scheme from the very beginning.
Right.
But people didn't realize that. They believed their government, etc. So what were they after? They get rid of Social Security and Medicare. They know they can't do it overnight. They go and do it in chunks. At the same time, as an aside, in that bill, they passed the unconstitutional Super Congress. And the forerunner of that we call it
the Central Committee of the Politburo here.
Okay, well, I cite the Star Chamber proceedings of the 13th century.
That works too. Okay.
Which was neutralized by the Magna Carta.
Right.
Then came the Politburo, and but the one that this most reflects is a piece of legislation passed in 1933 by the Bundesrat, and that was forced through by Adolf Hitler. It was called the Enabling Act. So I call this the Obama Enabling Act, which will allow him to become dictator. It's unconstitutional, and it's meant to bypass Congress. This group of 12 plus the president makes the decisions. They send them to the House and the Senate. There's no amendments allowed, no debate, no nothing.
Right.
And it's an up-and-down vote majority. And that's how they're going to pass legislation in the future. It leads to a dictatorship.
This is Cumberland Mills Free Radio, 88.1 FM, giving parts of Westbrook a different voice.